Let's get ready to rumble! What a performance that was!
Okay, thank you so much for joining us in Sportsville. It's another beautiful Sunday, and of course, we have so many interesting items on the menu today. We have a very big masquerade that will be joining us. Today, we'll be talking about rugby. Yes, I think that Nigerians have what it takes to play rugby, and we have somebody who knows and somebody who is coming from a rugby playing nation, a South African to be precise, who is joining us on the program today. We have, of course, our baby of the house, Oluchi Tobechukwu, who is going to be here to do what she knows how to do best. And indeed, we'll be just taking a look at the African Cup of Nations like we promised earlier. George Alo, our man who was in Egypt rather, is back, and of course back with so many stories. We are going to look at the politics of African football, politics in CAF, politics as it affects Nigeria, politics as it affects our own. Talk about the president of the Nigeria Football Federation, Melvin Amaju Pinnick. George Alo will be here in the second segment, where he's going to tell us all the experiences he gathered, from Egypt, and of course, talk to us on the implications of Pinnick not being the first vice president of Confederation of African Football. Just stay tuned, because we have so many interesting items on the menu, things that you can always take away from this station. It's Sportsville. Just stay tuned. We'll come back and hit you again.
Mini-Me, taste the fun.
What we are really cultivating here is a better future for all Nigerian women, and it's not always easy. Panadol Extra relieves headache, backache, joint pain, toothache, and menstrual pain. The pain is worth it.
Yeah, welcome back to Sportsville. If you're just joining us, you have absolutely not missed anything. Let's just go straight now to introduce Oluchi Tobechukwu, our in-house analyst. Oluchi, yes, the last week I got phone calls, some people telling me that you were absolutely fantastic on TV.
Thank you so much, Tony. It's a pleasure to be here making the first team again. The onus lies on us in-house in Sportsville to dish out the best, carry our viewers along and enlighten them. And that is what I've just done.
Okay, thank you so much. And indeed, I talked earlier about the big masquerade. If you're looking for a masquerade per se, you might not see him. You'll be seeing what Nigerians call as Oyibo, our own man, who is here. He's a South African, and of course, he's the chief coach of the Black Stallions, talking about the Nigerian rugby national team, who is here. He's a South African. He's Branson Way, and of course, he's joining us on this program. It's my pleasure, bringing you on to set.
Thank you very much for hosting me. I appreciate it. And great to be back in De Lagos, as they say.
Okay, the Black Stallions of Nigeria will be out there tomorrow in Ghana, where they will be playing a three-nation tournament, that involves the host Ghana, Ivory Coast, and indeed Nigeria. And of course, we're just going straight to Branson Way. If you talk about rugby, you talk about South Africa. And it's a very good thing for us to have a South African as the head coach of the Nigerian Stallions. Talk about rugby. So what has your experience been, coaching rugby to Nigeria?
Well, it was an eye-opener in the beginning, to be honest. I'm about a year into my job with the Black Stallions. Coming here, just seeing a different culture, how the guys do things over here. Obviously, back in South Africa, rugby is almost like a spiritual thing, and it's a big culture over there because families embrace it. Over here, a bit more amateur, to be honest with you. It's still new to many people. You don't really have it in all the schools around in the whole of Nigeria, but it's improving. There's a lot of Nigerians playing abroad, but we also want those guys to plow back and also to grow the game back here in Nigeria.
Okay, and we've seen that you said that rugby in South Africa is, it's a very spiritual thing. So many people adore and worship rugby per se. And in Nigeria, we talk about football. That's the same thing that goes to, Nigeria once it comes to football. But I do know that there are so many Nigerians outside who play rugby, very well. And also, we do have so many Nigerians that have what it takes to play rugby. And from your experience, do you think that Nigeria will definitely rise up to catch up with some countries like South Africa?
Well, definitely. To be honest with you, it's going to be a big effort. The nation also has to back it. And we need a lot of financial support. CMB is doing a good job at the moment. I mean, this is the first, to be honest with you, the first decent camp I can actually talk about. So we need the Dangotes of this world and the MTNs and whoever else to chip in to assist us to make it even a stronger force, because finances play a big role, or sponsorship for that matter, play a massive role to improve the team.
Okay, you just, hearing from Branson Ware, that they need sponsorship. And indeed, for Nigeria to thrive in the game of rugby, we must have very heavyweights, financial heavyweights, people who are going to pull their financial muscles to support rugby. And indeed, I think it's a very interesting game that Nigerians can always, go through, once it comes to, countries. I know that in everything that Nigeria does, Nigeria brings out its best. You are playing against Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire in the Tri-Nation tournament.
Correct.
What are the chances of Nigeria in this Tri-Nation tournament?
Well, I think it will be good. Last year we played Niger and we did very well against them, and I think the camp was decent. Looking at the boys at the moment, they're in high spirits. We did bring in also 2 experienced players. One is playing in Italy and one is playing in South Africa. And I've encouraged them to come and join us. So they've also parted their knowledge onto the local players over here. And if you ask any local player what that experience was like, or to share, besides me sharing my experience with them and passing on my knowledge, the 2 players, when they're actually on the pitch, that little bit of things, when the coach is not talking, they are talking, because they're playing on a much higher level abroad, and they just brought that back here to the local players. And I hope we're going to take it into the games. It's look, Ivory Coast won't be easy. They also have players abroad, playing in France and so forth. But we'll be up for the challenge, and I'm ready for it.
Tony, may I just chip in something?
Yeah.
Apart from the 2 professionals, that you've drafted into the team,
Yeah.
what efforts have you made, to bring in players with Nigerian descent? Because I know that apart from football, we have players in other sports scattered around the whole world. Correct. To draft them into the team and strengthen them. And secondly, how would you assess your performance? I can sit down and assess Genetra for Super Eagles. Not a whole lot of people follow rugby. How will you assess yourself since you came to start handling the team?
Okay, so if I can just first start with the homework that I've done abroad, I can promise you I have a list of more than 40 players that's abroad that we actually wanted to bring in. But because of the financial constraints, and that's also the reason why we need more financial support to bring the rest in, because these guys are playing semi-professional, and professional rugby, and they pay them a stipend. You need to pay decent accommodation and have them in camp and so forth. And unfortunately, we couldn't meet the demands. So going forward, I hope that will improve and I can get them here. In terms of our performance, I think it would be nice actually if the rugby union would comment on that. But without boasting too much, we beat Niger in Niger, and we gave them over 50 points, 59-13, if I remember correct. And we went in Cote d'Ivoire when we played Ivory Coast in this. We played a 7s tournament. We played in the final. We lost in extra time of the 7s. We should have won that tournament, to be honest with you, and we only played with local players. We didn't reach out to anybody abroad. We only took local players, while Algeria was there with professional players from France. Cote d'Ivoire flew their players in from France, and also Burkina Faso, surprisingly, who ended 3rd in the tournament, also had players from France. And Burkina Faso and Algeria was in the same pool that we were, and we were top of that pool. So going to the final, into extra time, just losing out by 2 points, it shows that there's a lot of potential here. So hoping that we can obviously grow the game. Obviously, we have to grow the game here. Start at a school level and a university level, and then into a club system. Because currently there's a major gap. So we're looking to grow the game, and there are guys doing very good work, especially in the north. But we need to repeat what we're doing. If you go to the north, when I say north, I'm referring to Kano. When I spend time in Kano, they're playing in schools over there, but they don't have a university set up, and then they have a club set up. Over here, you only have a club set up. You don't have much in schools. So we need to replicate where we go, if you understand what I mean. And then, obviously, those guys that's abroad, bring them back in here so they can obviously share their knowledge and so forth.
Okay, that's the chief coach of the Black Stallions of Nigeria. Talk about the Nigerian national rugby team, Branson Way, a South African who is, of course, minding, the rugby team. Tomorrow, they will be in Ghana, and of course, they will be playing Ghana. They will be playing Cote d'Ivoire in a three-nation tournament ahead of the Gold Cup in November. And Branson definitely is going to make rugby as popular and as good as football, but he's asking for sponsors, and of course we also join in asking that sponsors equally come and join hands to promote this sports, that is a worldwide sports that almost every country play, and Nigeria indeed, they don't lack talents. And before we allow you to go, it's been almost a year in Nigeria, and how is it, how do you find the country?
No, beautiful. I've to be honest with you, the first time I landed in Abuja, I thought I was lost because the traffic was so easy. And when I came to Lagos, then I felt back at home because the jam was something different. But to be honest with you, I've been traveling in and out, and it's nice that people have embracing me. And I thank you to the communities that have been embracing me and taking care of me over here. So yeah, it's a wonderful country, and I hope that things will improve. If I can just make one more last request to whichever Nigerians are in Ghana, in close to Accra and Elmina where we are playing, if they can come out and support us, and when we sing the national anthem, I hope to hear their voices there as well.
Okay, we promise you that definitely you'll get a large number of Nigerians out there in Ghana, because everywhere you go, there must be Nigerians, and I promise you'll be surprised when you see the large number of Nigerians who will turn out tomorrow when Nigeria begins a three-nation tourney in rugby, playing Ghana and of course playing Cote d'Ivoire. I want to say a very big thank you to you for joining us in this program, and I promise that this is you have very large audience here, so many people after listening to this will definitely turn out tomorrow in Ghana, because in Ghana they also listen to this station. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And please stay tuned, because when we come back, we'll go to the main program of this tournament. It's still Sportsville.
What we are really cultivating here is a better future for all Nigerian women, and it's not always easy. Panadol Extra relieves headache, backache, joint pain, toothache, and menstrual pain. The pain is worth it.
I'd say it's between Kelechi Iheanacho and Kenneth Omeru. They're both very funny guys. They're always making sure that everyone has a smile on their face. But then when it's time to work, they're serious as well. So yeah, one of those two. I'd say I grew up watching Okocha, so I'd have to say him. When he was in the Premier League at Bolton, I was a small boy, and I used to always enjoy watching his games. So yeah, definitely him. Right now I'm feeling Zlatan Ibile. I like his music. Burna Boy also, Wizkid, Davido, yeah, just the major ones. A line, let me think of a line. Starboy Day for you. I was raised on Nigerian food. That's what my mum used to make for us, me and my brother growing up. So yeah, my favourite probably Ayamase with white rice and plantain.
Okay, thank you so much for coming back. And indeed, what you have seen is getting personal with Semi Ajayi, and indeed that boy was very fantastic. And of course, we know that so many things will be happening in the future. We are going into Panadol Extra. This is a segment. They have really been supporting us, during the Nations Cup and after the Nations Cup. I think Panadol with them, they make toughies, and of course we've really been very tough. Welcome indeed, George Aloh, the big man, the big masquerade, the man who has always been on all fronts, is back from Egypt, looking good. George Aloh, you're welcome. This is Nigeria. Wake up.
Thank you very much, Chodubani. I was watching you guys on Sportsville out there in Egypt, and you guys were doing a very fantastic job. Kudos to you. Kudos to Baby of the House and the entire crew, Tayo Gushaya, our producer. You guys did a good job. And just like the Eagles were toughened up with Panadol out there, even in Cairo.
Okay, that's just a little of the things that you expect from George. We are going to come back and George is going to give us a lowdown on what happened in Egypt, especially the politics in CAF and of course politics that involved and somehow affected the president of the Nigeria Football Federation, Melvin Pinnick Amaji. George is going to give us a lowdown, and of course we have a lot of interviews. We are going to talk to somebody who equally holds an international position out there in Africa, who is going to be talking to us. Just stay tuned, because when we come back, it will be the Panadol Extra segment, and definitely we will hit you with so many big things. Oluchi Tobechukwu is still here. He will be joining us with George Alo in the next segment of Panadol Extra.
What we are really cultivating here is a better future for all Nigerian women. And it's not always easy. Panadol Extra relieves headache, backache, joint pain, toothache, and menstrual pain. The pain is worth it.
You are still watching Sportsville on this very beautiful day, and this segment is brought to you by Panadol. And of course, I told you we have so many beautiful programs lined up for you. George Alo is back from Egypt, and indeed he is back with a bag full of stories and of course analysis. Talk about the thing that is tearing CAF apart. George is going to look into CAF. He's going to look into the involvement of FIFA into CAF administration, and of course he's going to look into Pinnick, the president of Nigeria Football Federation, being removed as the first vice president. But before that time, let's go to Panadol and tell you about being a toffee is beyond physical strength. It is going through pains to assist people around you, just like a firefighter will run into a burning building, putting themselves in harm's way to make sure nobody is trapped in the fire. A toffee is willing to sacrifice time and energy, and sometimes their life for others. Are you a toffee, or do you know one who has made their life easier for people around them? Visit Panadol Extra social media pages on Facebook and Instagram at Panadol Nigeria and share with us stories so we can celebrate these toffees together. That's the message of Panadol on this beautiful day. And once again, you're welcome. Let's go straight to talk to Michel Obi. You know him, we call him the master. He's the president of AIPS. He was in Egypt. And of course, when you talk about politics, you also talk about Michel Obi. He's very much involved in the politics. And of course, Michel will be breaking it down for us. And after that, George Alo will definitely come here to tell us all that he knew or he saw in Egypt surrounding CAF politics. And of course, as it involves Melvin Pinnick Amaji, president of NFF.
Thank you very much. When Amaju won his election as into the executive committee and also helped to install Ahmad as president, he had a voice. The voice was strong. The voice was powerful. But that has not diminished in any way, because I think even within members of the CAF committee, they recognize the role Amaju has played over time. I think it was a question of, if I have a rival and a potential competitor, keep him away. But then we have to play the politics very well. I think Amaju also needs to retouch his style and his approach. He needs to retouch it effectively. He needs to maintain a certain balance in the way he goes about his own ambition. And I think it's critical that we have a young man who understands the dynamics of football power at that level. But it's also critical we have a man also who is fully supported at home. That way, he can fall back on the energy from his base and use that as an effective drive for going at the top. We cannot have somebody as first vice president of CAF, and at home here we are tormenting him with all kinds of rubbish in the name of allegations. You have a minister who has done his time. Instead of taking a break, he's busy throwing stones as if he has a catapult. It shouldn't be so. We should always and every time support our own. That's what makes us unique as a people. The moment we come together and fight a cause, you see the impact. And I think Nigerians should begin to understand that together as a team, we can get the kind of results that will be of value and that will help this country the more.
Okay, we are still talking sports on this very beautiful day. That's Michael Obi. You know, I'm always mistaking him for Michael Obi. But all of them, they go together. And of course, this Michael Obi plays football very, very well in his very much younger days. And of course, I was a Maradona of his team. George Alo, back from Egypt. And of course, you've had Michael Obi, who was in Egypt. And you people saw, you know, you didn't conquer. You came back with stories. And these are the stories that we want to hear from you. You've seen, had, you know, Michael talking about what transpired in Egypt.
Yeah, you called him the master, but I call him the grandmaster. Michael Obi, he was there, Vice President AIPS, and we were all in Marriott Hotel when the drama started unfolding during the AGA, the Annual General Assembly of CAF, and our own Pinnick during that AGM of CAF was not returned as the first Vice President of CAF. Well, Tony, first and foremost, let me educate Nigerians that in the first place, we are trying to make a mountain out of a molehill, because some people believe that our own Pinnick is no longer part of CAF. That is not true. He is still a CAF Executive Committee member. It's just that Ahmad refused to renominate him in line with the CAF statutes to continue as his vice president for another 2 years. Well, in any case, what played out was a case of if I'm going down, my first vice president must not benefit from it. Ahmad sensed that because of the corruption case hanging on his head, he may eventually be booted out, because FIFA has taken over the administration of CAF. They are investigating him, except if Fasma Samura, who is now in charge from August 1, who will be in charge from August 1, decides to save him. If not, the cases against him are very weighty, and Ahmad knows that if he goes down eventually, Pinnick will be the first beneficiary, because he is the first vice president. So what Ahmad did was to lash on the CAF statutes, refuse to renominate Pinnick for another 2-year tenure as his first vice president. But be that as it may, Tony, it's a case of if I'm going down, Pinnick will go down with me. And Ahmad knows that Pinnick is very close to Infantino. Infantino was taken aback, Tony, I must tell you. You can see it, because before the AGA, everything pointed to Ahmad renewing Pinnick's tenure. But when they got there, he refused to renominate him. And at the end of the day, Pinnick was out. And Infantino was livid with anger. But it is CAF politics. Let's see how that plays out. But in any case, like I said, Pinnick is still a member of the CAF Executive Committee. Nothing has really spoiled. And the Executive Committee is a committee of first among equals. Yes, Ahmad is the first president. Then you have the first vice president, second vice president. But ultimately, he remains a member of the CAF Executive Committee. And like I said, it is a case of intrigues that played out. And why did Ahmad not want to renew Pinnick's tenure, you may ask? Tony, it is because we were all in Ethiopia when these people won this election, pushed out Issa Hayatu, and they promised us reforms. They said there were going to be reforms in African football. They promised change and all that. But Pinnick felt that, hey, after 2 years of being on the saddle, Ahmad is not matching words with action. And he wrote him a personal letter that, see, we need to carry out the reforms that we promise Africans. We need to change a few things. But come to look at it, for instance, Pinnick is the head of AFCON, chairman of the organizing committee. Ahmad went ahead and appointed the general coordinator. And it has never happened in the history of AFCON, thereby sidelining Pinnick tactically. And there are so many other committees that he sidelined him. They did not do the reforms. They have not carried out the reforms that they wanted. And now, because Pinnick complained that, hey, we need to carry out these reforms, we need to change a few things. The way Hayatu left African football is not the way we should leave it. And what Ahmad did was that, oh, it's like Pinnick is not on the same page with me. He is very close to Infantino. And now that I'm being investigated for corruption, the best thing is to ensure that if I leave, Pinnick does not benefit.
Oluchi, it's I know that you've really been following, you know, the developments in CAF and of course in FIFA. We're talking about Melvin Pinnick Amaju, and of course we've seen that he has lost the first vice president of CAF. Oluchi, Pinnick was not there as an AFCON man, the man who organized the African Cup of Nations. He was not there to witness the final matches of the African Cup of Nations in Egypt?
Yes, before going into that, I must say that one thing I know, I must give kudos to Pinnick. His tenure wasn't renewed, not based on the fact that he was accused of sharp practices or there was any sex scandal or allegations of corruption. It was just differences in administration, which anybody can have that with your superior. So if it was on that basis that he didn't get it, there's nothing to be ashamed of as an individual. He has done so well as long as football is concerned in Nigeria and also in CAF. A whole lot of Nigerians that are jubilating have also, benefited from the fact that he was occupying that position, even at club level, and Nigerians being in other committee, as members. For him not to be there, I think, I just felt that he just feels that I wasn't in charge right from beginning. Like George said, he was just like a ceremonial position as long as I was concerned. And just a day, before the final, this kind of table shaking came. He wasn't expecting it. He's human. Different people have ways of handling things. But personally, if I was the one, I would have been there. I wouldn't have come home. I would have been there for the final, because you never can tell. Some other things can still play up. He's just falling. That he fell down doesn't matter. It's the ability to pick himself up 100 times and still, bounce back. That is what matters.
When we talk sports here, time is always flying. I must tell you that George Aloh is back, and of course there is no how he can exhaust, the bag of stories that he came back with. But stay tuned, because when we come back next time, definitely George is going to be in control, and this time around he will be sitting on this seat, and of course I will take the other seat when George begins to offload most of the things he has in Egypt. It's only on this program, Sportsville, that you can get the best of analysis, best of behind the scenes stories you can never get elsewhere. Stay tuned, because when we come back, we'll now round up the show. It's been a very beautiful one, starting with rugby and of course dovetailing into football and so many other ones.
All my fears are running. What we are really cultivating here is a better future for all Nigerian women. And it's not always easy. Panadol Extra relieves headache, backache, joint pain, toothache, and menstrual pain. The pain is worth it.
Okay, you are welcome back. It's still Sportsville, and I must tell you that this segment that you just watched was brought to you by Panadol. Panadol have always been, very solid behind us, and in sports, you must always go along with Panadol. They have everything that makes a sportsman, tick. That's the show, and remember tomorrow that Nigeria will be up against Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire in the Tri-Nation Rugby series that is happening out there in Accra. That's the size of the show, and thanks so much for being with us.